who are able, please stand and remain standing for the family of the business-directed funeral to take their seats. Now, you may be first to be seated if you've never even thought about your funeral or after-death care plans. All right, you thought about it. You may be seated if you have thought about it but haven't written anything down. All right, we lost a couple there. Okay, now you may be seated if you've thought about it, written something down, and shared it with those who will carry it out.
Well, it's in the instructions that are written down.
Yeah, did they get a copy?
Well, they know where it is.
They know where it is. That's a start. Well, you're a person who has done what we're suggesting, and so everyone can look to you as an example of how it doesn't kill you. So, we have gathered here today to say goodbye, not to tradition itself, but to default purchasing behavior. It started during the Civil War to get our boys home, and really took off when the body of President Lincoln was put on display at train stops across the country on its way for burial in Springfield, Illinois. All thanks to the newly perfected art of embalming. This custom has gone by many names. Who here has heard of the traditional funeral package? Or, she just deserves a proper burial. Or, he deserves I'm trying to give him a dignified burial. I've heard them all, and they're usually followed with, but we don't have enough money, which in their mind means, therefore my loved one's care will be improper and undignified. These expectations were born of love, but along the way they began trapping families into spending to honor their loved one's memory and to treat their remains with respect. Today, through storytelling, I hope to let you paint your own vision of how to hold on to that dignity and caring while still retaining the ability to act objectively. And I'm going to close the door just for sound. Okay, and you didn't get a funeral program.
Oh, no, I did not.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Oh, here's where I sing a summary. Yeah. Morticians, they had oversight, tried to tell us what's wrong and what's right. But when asked how about something for me, they did answer with voices so sweet. You will stand here, not there, then you'll move to the chapel on cue. Sit and pray, but first pay, you chip in, that's all you need do. And the legislators, they fight, and they talk and they clap and they write, till they get a restriction on you, and your blood's on the way to the loo. You can stand here, not there, then you'll move to the chapel on cue. Sit and pray, but first pay, you chip in, that's all you need do. But I brought the truth here for you. There's only a few supposed to's. Plan ahead, write it down, make it known. And your family may not need a loan. You can stand here or there. You'll know what you really want to do. It's okay to have your way in expressing your final adieu. There you go. That's the whole thing of the song. And here you are, your funeral program. Thank you for coming.
I love that you have the flowers now. That's
Yeah,
very nice.
it wouldn't be a funeral, right, without the flowers, right? Which I made myself. When Kathy's husband died, they lived on the East Bench of Provo. She did not hire a funeral director. Her family hosted a 2-day open house viewing in their home themselves. Kathy told me many were touched by paying their respects in the home and expressed, some with tears, their desire to have done the same for their loved ones, but they just didn't know they could. Kathy's family had emptied a small room of their home and placed his casket up on a long table. A friend of mine in Ogden was inspired by what she and her husband saw while serving a mission in New Zealand, where families often kept their deceased loved ones at home for a time of honoring and connection. When her husband passed, she chose to do the same, welcoming visitors into their living room where his closed casket rested near the hearth, surrounded by warmth, photos, and love. I also had a neighbor who hired a mortuary to bring her husband's embalmed body home for a private viewing in their front parlor. In her younger years, she had been a professional hula dancer. On the night before the funeral, she was suddenly moved to perform for him the farewell hula, alone in the privacy of their home. If his body had been taken back to the mortuary overnight, she felt she would not have had the opportunity for that precious experience. Back to Kathy. After their 2-day open house viewing, they held a chapel service. Her family transported the casket in their own van and coordinated burial directly themselves with Camp Williams Veterans Cemetery. The military were supportive of her choice to not hire a mortuary. Prior to the funeral, they even sent a soldier to the door of her home to deliver an American flag for her husband's casket in person. At every step of the way, you could not discern that there were no professional service providers involved. If you hire out even part of services, first hear this phone call that I got from a consumer. I bought a funeral for my husband that I can't afford because a helpful relative said he would pay for everything, but now he refuses to pay. I'm so sorry, this is very common, unfortunately. Did the mortuary show you prices as you went along during the purchase? Well, some, but I was afraid to say anything. I believe the helpful relative thought he would get a good deal since the funeral director is his cousin. I didn't know what agreement they had, so I was hesitant to be picky, but I'm now willing to pay half if he would just follow through. Our conversation went on to reveal that she was not given 2 things that are legally required for the funeral home to give her. One is a general price list at the start of discussions of products and services, and 2, an itemized statement of a breakdown of what they wanted to buy and the final sale total. So neither of them must have got it because the guy got it in the mail, the relative, the helpful relative. So I think he was price shocked too, and that's why he sent it to her. He was like scared at that point. Happy ending, I told her to get a hold of that funeral home, show them the 2 citations in the law, and how they broke it. And guess what? They have the price, and the other relative decided to pay half of that. So, very happy ending. Now, you too can protect your ability, but to walk away from buying everything a mortuary sells by becoming informed about what's optional and what's required, then writing and sharing your own funeral plans. Next, you become able to walk away by taking courage from others' examples, these stories, experiences, and by standing your ground, which can be as easy as being quiet sometimes. For example, my mother. She played the walk-away card. When her true love died, she said the mortuary quoted her a high price for cremation services over the phone. She told me, "Joyce, I thought of you." And I just told him, "That's way too much." Then she said she stayed silent, letting the funeral director think for what she said seemed like 45 seconds. Finally, when he spoke again, he came back with a fair price, almost halving the price. Probably having the services too, but I wasn't there. As for a final farewell, where she lives, her local community center is free. But she and Dave love the outdoors, so she hosted a celebration of life service for him in the park, inviting attendees to dress casual and to bring refreshments to share instead of flowers. About 140 people attended, and it was awesome. Another example, a family here from Texas to bury their father called me for advice. They had talked to a funeral home on Sunday, but planned to make their final decision on who to hire on Monday. But that funeral home presumptuously took possession of their father's body from this Murray hospital on Sunday before they decided. So I informed the family, you totally can switch funeral homes even if they already have the body. And not even if they made a mistake. If you just change your mind, you can do that. So she finished gathering prices with the help of the price survey on our website, sampled here. See how we even provide a link to every general price list on that end? Some of them, they publish their price list on their website, but the ones where it's a PDF, I provide it in Google Docs because they don't provide it on their website. Totally legal. She then told the mortuary, you took the body before we chose you, so we're switching to the funeral home down the street. The mortuary then wisely agreed to negotiate, beating the price of the other funeral home. Do you feel a little closer to being able to play the walk-away card? When my sister Jane heard that this couple just lost their 9-month-old baby, they were only acquaintances, but she called to offer her condolences. When they expressed their wish to tend to their child themselves, she silently wished they knew some granola-eating hippie to help them out. But out loud she admitted, you actually can. She accompanied them to the medical examiner's office to bring their baby home, and over the next several days helped them keep the body cool and perform simple tasks like making phone calls. Pictured here, family and friends are crouching on the concrete outside the church for final goodbyes before the funeral, since leadership of the congregation forbade them opening the casket indoors. Not based on any law, just common cultural fears.
Because it was a remake?
Because they're afraid of dead bodies transmitting disease.
Oh.
To offer perspective, here's what a spokesperson from the Centers for Disease Control has said. We have not at any point prescribed embalming as a method of protecting public health.
And why do they do it?
They don't require it. The funeral homes are allowed to require it, just like cemeteries are allowed to require vaults for their own convenience. And actually, it's their calling card, right? Oh, they look so good. Don't they look good? They did such a good job. That's what we all do when we lean over the casket. I mean, sometimes. If they look like a Barbie doll, we just move on.
Say nothing.
Yeah.
I don't even know very many services that people want open caskets at their funerals or something. Well, sometimes, I've been to several in the last few years, and there was like 3 of them that they were open. So they wanted to show the person.
I think people who are used to seeing that also kind of feel like they need to have it open.
Yeah.
And people are like water. When I try to get them to do something different, and they're all in agreement before we get there, and then all of a sudden, let's open the casket and leave it open, even though it's keeping people from coming in because they don't want to see a dead body, and now we're excluding people, but it's okay because that's what we always see. Our website, our web page called Dead Bodies, The Danger That Doesn't Exist, addresses these issues in more depth and about bodies and contagion, and the rare cases where a body needs to be handled with more caution. Freed from commercial pressure at the cemetery, the family are exercising their desire to just open the casket once more. Usually it's locked down before you even go into the chapel, right? But they have that flexibility. A friend shares her 2008 experience in her own words. Hannah died in an auto pedestrian accident. A funeral director came into the hospital room where our family and the body of our 14-year-old daughter were and began the sales pitch. I could hardly bear listening to it. We asked for a price. He threw a large price out at us. Then I said, what is included in this price? And as he began listing items, I said after each one, after another, we want to do that for our daughter. Then he said, oh, you want our economy package? And again, I asked for itemization. As he listed, I repeated that we wanted to do all these things for her. Hannah's mother continues, when I told him that we would be burying her in a cemetery of a town that no longer exists, he recognized the name as a place where several of his ancestors are buried. After that, his demeanor changed and he became more flexible. However, to comply with what they thought was state law, They performed burial within 24 hours. Family outside of Utah were unable to participate only because the mortician didn't understand that the law also allows refrigeration, keeping a body at 40 degrees as an alternative to embalming and a speedy burial. Refrigeration at home is accomplished through using dry ice or refreezable ice packs placed strategically inside the casket. With my father-in-law's February funeral, the garage happened to stay 40 degrees for the 2 days before the funeral. Both nights, a single light bulb inside the van that held his casket not only maintained the temperature at 40 degrees, but also a beautiful reverent glow. I liked it. Why is my voice? In 2012, a friend in my Orem neighborhood died suddenly of a heart attack at age 53. The family asked for my help. On the do-it-yourself page of utahfunerals.org and on the back of your program, we have a flow chart to guide families on what exactly to do when unexpected death occurs. In this case, police were called and a medical examiner came who quickly declared the death a heart attack. This booklet dealing with unexpected death was given to the family by the police after Cindy's death. Notice the list of local mortuaries inside the front cover. It didn't include the cheapest one, and mortuary prices can vary by thousands. You can see that I wrote in that contact for her husband. I transported Cindy's body in my Subaru. All we needed was a death certificate and a burial transit permit. I know it looks funny, we couldn't close it, right? Any assigned person can easily obtain both at the Vital Records Office at the Health Department of the county where death occurred. The instructions are on the State Department of Health website, which my site links to as well. In this case, instead of housing and dressing her body ourselves, we partnered with a flexible mortuary, also the cheapest, which is typical, and he did all the paperwork for us. The funeral director was generous to teach me a trick I've used ever since, using a firm tube to roll a casket into any vehicle, or a body board, which is a board to bring a body from a care facility. This is a cardboard one, see how thick it is, but it rolls right in, easy. So just keep one on hand, okay, everybody?
Where do you get
My
that?
son is
Two.
a plumber. My son's a plumber, he's got that.
Excellent, you are ready. Carrying the body can be done using a sheet with the edges rolled up on each side, then lifting unitedly. Today, I also brought, I didn't bring it, I did yesterday, but the body board. It's on my website though, with little 13-second videos watching us how to get through a doorway, how to roll it into the vehicle. On our website, we have links to YouTube videos on every aspect of modest and loving care for the dead. In early April 2020, we went to pick up my mother-in-law's body at Delta Cargo. I was assigned as the receiving funeral home by the funeral home in New York. We waited with others expecting packages from around the world. A worker entered and told the office clerk, "Our VIP has arrived." They were so sweet and respectful, calling me to the counter to be told where to drive our vehicle. We backed our van up to the receiving dock and they helped us roll the casket right in using our cardboard tube trick. Now you know you can walk away from a mortuary's $1,300 or more airport pickup charge. It was almost easier than picking up a live person from baggage claim.
Dead people are easier to pick up.
But I did make a mistake. We didn't take the shipping tray with us. They offered to throw it away. I was like, oh, thanks. They were so nice again to call the next day and alert us to the fact that we'd left the burial transit permit attached to the box and held it for me to come get. That paper is required for transport and for final disposition because it states the place of final disposition. See, so there's all these cross checks. Nobody's getting away with murder and hiding a body. A mortician might say, sure, you have the right to transport a body across state lines if it's embalmed, but only he can perform embalming. So you think, I don't have the ability to walk away from his services, until you find out that his statement was only true for him, not you. You are not subject to licensure rules. Similar to cutting your family's hair, you are not subject to the requirements of a beautician's license. A body does not need to be embalmed to leave or to enter Utah if you transport it yourself. One family I know wasn't sure what an inspection officer would be looking for when they were directed off the highway, casket in plain view. Their turn came. The inspection officer looked into their vehicle, saw the casket, and said, "Do you have any fruit?" They said no, and he waved them right through.
Interesting.
Yeah. In 2018, my father-in-law died in upstate New York. Everyone in the family wanted me to take care of arranging the funeral on their behalf. I knew funeral director involvement is required in New York and a handful of other states. So the first thing I did was ask a few mortuaries for their price list that they are legally required to share. One should always obtain a price list first, even if there's an at-a-glance price survey prepared by your local consumer advocate. Families typically spend 10 grand or more for just a single funeral and local burial. Notice our grand total for 2 funerals plus an over $800 flight. Also, don't turn away from your liberty to conduct a funeral without a funeral director present just because you think, I need one of these carts to set a casket on and move it through the building. What are pallbearers for? Just check the load-bearing capacity of the tables you use. I did, I added up the weight of the casket plus the weight of the body, because the bishopric were worried, and practice going through narrow doors before guests arrive, just to look smooth and cool. Conducting a funeral service as a family saves $400 to $700. Even if it's in a chapel, you're getting charged by the funeral home to come. Don't let notions of what is and isn't respectable force you to spend $250 or more on a hearse. Not long ago, I captured this beautiful transport of a casket on a truck traveling north on I-15. I was really touched by it. Can you see? Is it a good enough picture to see the casket? Gorgeous big black truck.
It doesn't even look secured in the back.
No, it doesn't. It's like showing, like they had the back down. So I just pictured these big, strong men in there, just taking the casket with honor for their whoever. I felt this protective influence. Cindy's casket is being lowered by hand at the beautiful historic Pleasant Green Cemetery. It lay on 3 beams for the service. The beams were pulled out as ropes through 4 handles lifted the weight of the casket. Then it was lowered easily. The cemetery did not require vaults or grave liners at that time. Now it's been taken, it's not a nonprofit running it, it's now a city running it, so we don't know how it's changed yet. The about $1,000 or more price you pay for a vault or a grave liner usually includes the fancy lowering device, the fake grass, some chairs, and an awning. Some cemeteries will use their own awning, but often it's the vault company bringing it. 3 times our family has been blessed to only be charged the wholesale price from the monument vault company since we didn't hire a mortuary. They won't give you the wholesale price unless you're truly doing it on your own. Whether or not you have to pay for a vault or a grave liner is up to the cemetery's rules. Neither are required by law. Some cemeteries publish their policies and procedures on their website so you can plan ahead. My compliments to the Orem City Cemetery. They have the gold standard. Everything that is expected of you is on there, and what a blessing. We are actually surveying each cemetery county by county right now, and I'm telling you, it's the Wild West out there. Cemetery, if you think funeral homes might rip you off, cemeteries, no regulation. I purchased this real granite memorial stone for my friend's grave. Always check with your cemetery's rules for what size stone or plaque they require, as well as colors, sheen, and other restrictions. If you don't go through their supplier, then get their approval of your choice in writing before you order. And one example is a lady got they accepted her picture of what she was ordering and everything. They said, yes, you can. And then they rejected it in the end just because of the sheen. And of course, she got a lawyer, and I don't know what happened after that.
Hmm.
Ours worked out, with garden stones, worked out fine. You can see the variations nearby, some with landscape pavers, some with fencing, the whole place, no sprinkler system, wildflowers. It is amazing. That is Magna, by the way, Pleasant Green, but it's a fun pioneer cemetery. I was new in the neighborhood, so I only met this man when I asked to add a broken vacuum to a giant dumpster in front of his mother's home, where he had lived as a full-time caregiver. As we chatted, he told me that he had just paid for his mother's funeral, adding that his congregation leader had authorized $2,000 to help, leaving him $6,000 short. All his mother's assets were tied up in probate because she had no will, nor put any of her assets into a trust. A trust would have put her house, car, bank account into the hands of a responsible party of her choice as soon as a death certificate was received. But maxing out his credit card, he paid for a funeral and to retain a lawyer. He explained that his caring mother had an inkling she needed to prepare and had felt prompted to and verbally expressed interest in setting her affairs in order, but passed away before following through. Imagine if someone would have responded to her enthusiastically. I've done that for myself. Would you like help? But you know what they probably said. Oh no, you're not gonna die. Don't think like that. We all sing that, right? I've said it before. So there you go.
So what's the dumpster for? What was that?
It's just to illustrate that this is how I met this man.
Oh,
He was
it's
clearing out the house. Yeah. Hopefully you all have alternative currency stashed. But when you die, your banked money gets locked down quick. And if you have been getting Social Security payments, then there's an immediate cessation of those payments. So if you have some banked savings, then a pay on death account is perfect. It only takes minutes to open one. It's just a savings account, but with a beneficiary added. It only ceases being yours when you die. Then it can be accessed quickly and seamlessly to pay for immediate expenses by whoever you've assigned. Whoops, going wrong.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So pay on death is meant to be do they transition the deceased person's funds into that so you can use it?
It's your savings account. So if you only ever put $1,000 in it, that's what'll be there when you die. But let's say you keep putting money in it, whatever's there, that belongs to that person. And they're not gonna even say, now are you gonna pay for all her bills and all that? They're gonna just give it to that person.
Okay.
It's theirs. And so it's gotta be a trusted individual you pick. It's impervious to fire, theft, earthquakes, rain, and all manner of creatures. The casket? No, your prepaid funeral contract. We discourage this kind of planning ahead, locking yourself into a contract. One of our Funeral Consumers Alliance of Utah founders, an accountant, regretted the simple immediate burial plan he bought years ago because he eventually wished for an even simpler shroud burial. But he decided it was less hassle to just keep his immediate burial plan with cheap casket. About a decade later, he did die, but his family were sideswiped because the funeral home said that simple casket was not in stock and would take over 24 hours to arrive. So his family felt to accomplish the immediate burial he pre-purchased, they had to pay for an upgraded casket, which they didn't have to. But how would they know that immediate doesn't mean immediate in the funeral biz? It means at the discretion of the funeral home. Whenever they get around to it, that's when they put it in the ground. That's the immediate burial package. In fact, it's quite common after death occurs for families to be told there are additional fees of all kinds, despite everything being taken care of in a prepaid contract. In this case, the funeral home could have kept the body cold till the casket he paid for arrived. Or how about just substituted a cardboard cremation casket instead? Or buried him in a sheet, which he would have loved, right? But they didn't know. So it's better to empower your family rather than getting locked into a contract.
But you can't do that if the cemetery won't let you have this, right?
Right.
So the cemetery would have to
Yeah, the cemetery has to approve it, but they are putting a vault around
Oh.
this. So it's not a concern about this ground sinking in, or it's not even a groundwater issue or anything, it's just about their maintenance and the sensibilities of those at the site. So, like, common, like, decency, like, do they wanna touch a body or see the form of a body? So the one that's most likely to get followed through with is a cremation casket, and they're not usually the shape of a coffin, they're often the shape of just a simple casket, that one. That's what most cremation containers are, but I bet they could approve that. So cheap than the $100 box. Some funeral homes sell you a discount package, only if you buy a casket from them. The truth, it's often still cheaper to itemize, buying only the products and services you really want, then add a casket price. With the price survey on our website, you can run those numbers real quick. We actually itemize and put the package right next to it, so you don't have to do all the adding either. So you can add your casket. On our carrying a body page of our website, you can find contact info and prices for all of our, not our local, I don't know these people. They just make caskets and I put them on the site. They don't give me any money, I am totally non-profit. I don't get a kickback or anything. We also list various caskets you can buy online and get shipped here within 4 days. If any mortuary ever gives you extra hoops to jump through on a third-party casket, call me. I want to fight with them. Or just tell you some strategies to overcome their little hurdles they try to put in your way. Plan your funeral without talking to a funeral home. Our funeral planning worksheet at utahfunerals.org is free and opens in a Google Doc. So you can make an editable duplicate if you'd like to change it. Then you can email a link to your family. If you kick the bucket, they can find that link by keyword search in their email. I even have a draft of my eulogy in Google Docs. So I can share a link and keep working on it until I can't anymore. This is one of the most important things I have to share, because who here has ever heard of someone saying, just stick me in the ground in a plain pine box?
My God.
Mhm. Most survivors won't have the authority or the know-how to follow through unless you do this one thing. Use this form on our website. Assign one individual, such as a friend or a relative, to control the disposition of your remains. If you don't assign one person in writing, then your next of kin inherit that right. And that's often a majority of several voices, like all your siblings, or all your adult children, or in the case of one of my friends, her divorced parents. Raise your hand if that sounds like trouble. And we even have a next of kin page on our website so you can figure out who that is. But the assigning one person, that trumps all next of kin. When my 42-year-old friend Candace died suddenly of a pulmonary embolism, I yearned to hear from her one last time, acknowledging her own mortality in writing, instructing us as to what she'd like done with her body, and anything she'd like for a funeral. She didn't. But it all worked out because we knew our rights, since we had pre-planned our own deaths. So we moved forward without fear, spending under $1,200 for her final disposition, and a beautiful and warm visitation and memorial service we hosted ourselves.
So you paid the $1,200 to bury her?
No, her stepmother did. But what was cool was that she was a member of the Utah Community Credit Union, and they have a $1,000 death benefit for everybody that banks there. So that's why you get that advertisement from them once a year, at least, saying, offering you to upgrade your insurance, and because they're giving you the $1,000, I guess so they can send you that piece of mail every year. Let me illustrate the possibilities in my closing song to an old Civil War tune by George F. Root. So my loved one passed away and left me to find a way to do a funeral and to put him in the ground. Everyone said, don't you worry, but there is a great big hurry. We wouldn't want a smelly body round. They push, buy, you keep on buying. There's nothing better you can do. Will your loved one feel your love in the heavens up above if you're cheap about the funeral that you do? So that day I met the man who'd my best interest in his hand. He showed me all the papers I must sign. He told me not to cremate for a symbol of hell that would make, but embalming nearly brings them back alive. Buy, you keep on buying. There's nothing better you can do. Will your neighbor know you love your loved one up above if you're cheap about the funeral that you do? Well, it all turned out okay, 'cause I called my FCA, that's the Funeral Consumers Alliance, it's a nonprofit. They told me all that they knew I could do. Got the pine box he'd always wanted, no embalming, so he looked dead. And I got it all without being rude. Make plans now, it is surprising what your love can really do. Remember, it's about the living, and we're showing love by giving a funeral that is meaningful to you. It was my father-in-law's graveside service in a snowstorm, freezing wind. All the parts to it had concluded. Suddenly, a few people turned to me. I realized, oh yeah, I didn't assign anyone to conduct. I have to close. So I clomped up to the front in my heavy snow boots, turned to everyone, and forgot what to say. So I said, well, that's it. On the way home, I recalled what is appropriate to say, and it's not worth $400 to $600 to hire a funeral home to come to the graveside to say it for you, which is, thank you all for coming. This concludes our services.
$600 for that.
Seriously. Well, there you go.
That was great.
Now for some questions and answers, which is not appropriate to say at the end of a funeral.